Trigger chosen. Fired before pension vested after 30 years of service. I remember the days I gave my best every morning before the sun rose too high. Years of steady work in a place I thought was more than just a job. It was my life, my pride. I built that company with my own 2 hands, starting with little more than hope and sweat, and over the decades, I watched it grow, a part of my family, my daily routine, my reputation. I knew every corner of that building, every quiet moment in the office, every smile and every struggle shared with my colleagues. I stayed late, worked weekends, never once thinking I'd be left behind when I finally reached the end. For 30 years I stayed loyal, faithful to the cause, believing that hard work and integrity mattered. That was my way. But then came the day I never saw coming. It was supposed to be a routine meeting. Instead, I was handed a letter, cold and impersonal, telling me my services were no longer needed. No warning, no discussion, just a slip of paper that stripped away my dignity faster than I could breathe. I was told I was too old, too slow, that they had someone younger, cheaper, more adaptable. I looked into the eyes of my boss, the man I'd once trusted, and saw only indifference. They told me my pension wouldn't come through, no severance, no farewell, just an abrupt end. My 30 years gone in a moment, like I was nothing. I felt the weight of betrayal crushing down inside me. All those years I'd given, and now I was cast aside like yesterday's trash. I went home that night with a hollow ache in my chest, feeling like I had lost part of my soul, my identity. My wife tried to comfort me, but I couldn't find solace. I saw it clearly, the way they had played me, the way they discarded all I had built with my own blood and sweat, just to make way for some shiny new thing. And deep inside, a quiet fury started to simmer. I didn't react at first. I knew better than to rush headlong into a storm I'd been betrayed into. Instead, I started watching, listening, collecting every bit of information I could find. I noticed how the new management played their games, how they cut corners, how they lied when they thought no one was watching. I paid attention to the little details. Who was whispering in shadows? Which files had gone missing? Who was eager to see me gone? I felt the air in the room, heavy with deception. My senses sharpened. I kept my silence, but I remembered each betrayal, every lie told in my name. And I devised my plan, one slow step at a time. I reached out in quiet corners, talked to old friends still inside, uncovered what they tried to hide. I documented their moves, gathered proof of their wrongdoing, knowing I had to meet their deceit with a steady hand. I felt the sting of my own grief, yes, but also the burning of my righteous anger, like a fire buried deep, but not extinguished. Every night I closed my eyes and saw the faces of those who had abandoned me, but I also saw a path back. I decided I wouldn't go quietly. I would show them who I was, someone who had built, who had fought, who refused to be erased. The critical moment came when I knew I had enough. I sat across from them in that conference room, older now, but no less resolved. I laid out the evidence I had collected, speaking calmly, but with a strength that made my voice shake the walls. I exposed their lies, their greed, their cold disregard. I told them I'd fought for that company, for those years, and I would fight for my dignity now. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched the shame seep into their faces as I spoke truths they couldn't deny. I demanded what was rightfully mine, my pension, my respect, my name. The room felt smaller, but I felt taller, as if I'd finally reclaimed a piece of myself I'd nearly lost. When I walked out that day, I carried the weight of victory and vindication, knowing I had restored my honor. I turned my back on their empty promises and walked into the quiet life I'd fought for. Now I spend my days mentoring younger men, passing on what I learned from decades of loyalty and pain. I want them to see that true strength isn't in the title or paycheck, but in standing your ground when the world tries to push you down. I've built my legacy, not just through what I made, but through the truth I refused to let them erase. And as I sit here now on my porch, watching the sunset bleed into the horizon, I know I've finally found peace. Peace that comes from justice served and dignity regained. If you respect a story well earned, like, share, and subscribe to this channel.